Are we ready, Ron?
We are.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to our, I don't remember even which number of meetup this is, but we're very happy you're here and we're happy to see lots of familiar faces and new faces for our Thriving in an AI World, Transforming Agile Careers and Skills. We think it's going to be super exciting and definitely relevant in this new phase of learning that we're in. And Heidi's here to tell us how to manage that, and Gopal is going to introduce Heidi. Thank you all for being here.
You want to say a little about Enterprise Agile?
Mary? Oh, yeah. Enterprise Agile is a group that formed mostly as Agile and Scrum professionals and coaches and for enterprise at that level. And it's been going for quite a long time. I've been with Enterprise Agile for 4 years. And we have these meetups, I think now about every quarter, every other month. Sometimes we add in a special one like this one. But this is a really great community. We have over, I think, close to 3,000 members now. So there's always some really good networking in here, and everybody is just a really, really good human. So glad you're all here. Ron, you can add whatever you want there. Thank you.
Nope, I think that's good.
Good.
So we want to welcome Heidi today. So Heidi, thank you for taking time from your busy schedule. I know it's a little bit late for East Coast, but we really appreciate your time. This is an exciting topic for everybody because AI is exploding. Heidi started out as an Agilist and then have transformed her career into a thriving AI connoisseur, entrepreneur. There are so many other words that we can use to define Heidi. I don't want to get into the details, but this is the journey. We want to learn from your experience in terms of this transformation, and that's why we are eager to learn from you and then interact with you. So thank you, Heidi, for spending time with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm so excited to present. And I was telling the folks here earlier on the call that this is the talk that I tried to retire last year and thought I'm not going to do this talk anymore, but people kept calling me up saying, can you please do the talk? Can you please do the talk? So that's why I'm here today, sharing my knowledge and hope to provide some value to you. And let me just go ahead and share my screen. And can you see it okay?
Yes.
We can see.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So this is a very, very personal journey for me. This is the most personal story that I'm going to tell that I have ever told about my life. So imagine waking up one day to discover that the career that you have been preparing for 3.5 years for no longer exists. That was my first inkling that the world was going to change a lot. So I'm going to talk to you today about what happened to me over the past 30 years, how to thrive in a world that's increasingly shaped by AI. And I've spent over 25 years helping companies and individuals adapt to change, technological change, organizational change, process change, change in leadership styles. And the last roles I held before I transitioned to AI, of course, are leading agile transformations inside large organizations. So I'm going to share information on the job market, future workplace trends, and lastly, those key skills that have stood me in good stead for over 30 years. Cool. I'm Heidi Araya, and all the images in this deck were created with AI except for one, so I'll let you guess which one. But I'm going to go back to the past. December 25th, 1991, that's the day I called the day my career plans crashed before they started. Because that was when I was graduating university, December 91, with a degree in Russian and linguistics. And I was dreaming of a diplomatic career like my grandfather, helping deflate the Cold War between the Soviets and Americans. And then on December 25th, I saw the Soviet hammer and sickle flag lowered for the last time over the Kremlin, and realizing that meant a flood of Russian-speaking people to the US, number one. And number two, the Cold War was over. So I had to rethink my career before I even had my diploma in hand. And that was just one of the things that happened to me, right? I never had this set it and forget it kind of career. I had to live through computers rising in the workplace. I worked in lots of internet companies and AOL. We were talking about MCI, 3Com, all those things that no longer exist anymore. I lived through the recession, many company failures, layoffs, and of course, COVID era and the AI era. So I evolved my career multiple times. A technical writer. When I saw that fewer people wanted technical writers, I reinvented myself as an analyst and I got a job at NASA. And then I decided to help companies adopt Agile. And that was a great ride too, but I could see the end coming. And I was seeking to reinvent myself again. So thankfully, AI came on the scene and I reinvented myself once again. And I help people and small businesses typically learn to leverage AI. So I've had to learn many, many skills to just help me survive through this change. And the pace of change is not slowing down, it's just accelerating. And the question now is not whether AI will change your career and your future. It absolutely will. The question is how you're going to respond to that change. So without telling everything now, I hope by the end of this talk, you'll understand why I'm uniquely qualified to speak about thriving in an uncertain job market and exponentially uncertain world, and why I'm passionate about helping others on their journey. So as we get started, just maybe type in the chat, what are your current thoughts on the current job market? So type, 1 if you're optimistic, 2 if you're cautiously hopeful, 3 if neutral, 4 concerned, 5 pessimistic. Love to see some.
And just a note, Heidi, your slides are no longer showing if
Oh,
they
really?
are. So they came up briefly and then they went away.
They're showing for me.
I see them.
Yeah.
Oh, that means that AOL is doing something weird to me. Okay, got it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, so 1 if you're optimistic, 2 just type the number in the chat, 3, 4, or you can type the name. Optimistic. 3, difficult to tell. Optimistic. Great. A few more. Chaotic. Thanks for sharing. Cool, thank you. All right, this helps me get a read on what everyone's thinking about. For the past 2 years, I've been studying various reports and information sources on the current job market in tech and outside tech, because I've been doing this talk for 2 years. So I've been keeping abreast of what's going on, and I'm going to cover the broad strokes. The tech market has been tough for a few years now. Almost 500,000 tech workers have been laid off since 2023, and not all of them, of course, have found work, because tech employment is down a third since January 2023. Tech job postings, especially for software engineers, have dropped over 30% since February 2020. And here's where this was like kind of astounding to me, right? For 25 years, a job in tech was always a sure bet. Not only was it a sure bet, I didn't have to keep looking, right? I could just, if I got laid off, I could have a job right away. I've always found a job when I was looking for it. However, it was also better paid than most other jobs. And now, so we're struggling because we weren't expecting this to come, right? We are just, how do I evolve myself now? How do I get a job now? And not only that, so temporary employment has also declined by 20% since March 2022, shedding like 650,000 jobs. So there's a huge, huge impact on the job market and the people that are existing here looking for jobs. And that's why it's a tough market out there. But a lot of people are asking me, well, why have tech companies been doing layoffs? So they were blaming COVID for overhiring. And few people are talking about higher interest rates. So for many, many years, interest rates were the lowest they had been. So actually, since the tech boom, interest rates were so low, it was very easy to borrow money at 3-4%, very, very low. Now interest rates are a lot higher. So just like your mortgage is going to cost a lot more, borrowing money costs more for companies, and they're less likely to do it. So they're less likely to hire. That's having an impact. There are some tax law changes that we hope will be repealed, but it is called Section 174. But what it means is all costs related to R&D cannot be expensed, including labor for software development. Those costs now have to be capitalized and amortized over 5 years. And that means that suddenly the tax burden for tech companies is much, much higher than it had been for many, many years, perhaps ever. And so that's one of the things that has been impacting this. And this next, of course, as you know, if a darling does layoffs and they don't suffer from it, in fact, their stock goes up. Then if you are a CEO and your board says like, hey, this other company laid off and their stock went up. So, what's wrong with you? We can just do this with impunity as well. So there's a lot of this, sheep stuff going on. And the last thing I just added this because it wasn't a factor before. All these things were happening before AI became big. So when companies blame AI, it's not that AI is it. Now they may choose to invest in AI, they may choose to do that, but this is a very recent thing, and that people are blaming AI. I still think the other factors are just a lot more than these, but I just wanted to give you some context. So the layoffs are really not due to AI in vast part, I think, right? But what's also important for you to know is that the economy is not bad. We're adding jobs. Over 800,000 jobs have been added to the economy in the past few months alone. But what happens is they're not being added very much in tech. Where are they being added then, you ask? Well, good question. They're being added in healthcare. They're being added in government. Now, I know that government is having layoffs, federal government, but local government is often hiring. Anything having to do with financial services is hiring. And of course, professional and business services. Now, this tech is kind of wrapped in there too, in professional and business services, but you can see that the other sectors are just have exploded, and tech is just not as big as it used to be. So let us talk about AI just a little bit. I'm going to have you, let's go to the next slide. I'd love to know personally, because this talk is about thriving in an AI world, how are you feeling about AI right now? So just whip out your phone, scan the QR code, if you will, or go to slider.com and type in the number. How are you feeling about AI? And then it will update in real time. Hope, cautiously excited, joy. Thanks. All right. Anyone else? No panic? Right. Thanks. All right. AI has changed the world dramatically in 2 years. Of course, predominantly it's generative AI, although people are just calling it AI, right? Education is changing. The way job searches are conducted, coding, experiments, product management, content and image, song creation, customer service, like anything you can possibly imagine. Not that long ago, I was working as an enterprise transformation consultant after leading an enterprise transformation at a place called Citrix, which was sold. So thankfully, in my mind, AI came on the scene because I was already looking to reinvent myself for the past 3 years, but I couldn't figure out what I should do next. I never had this problem before where I was wondering what I was going to do next. So thankfully, AI came on the scene, and then I began to use generative AI in my job to build engaging workshops. And it wasn't the best, but I could see the potential. And so I thought, I'm going to use AI to help me structure the book I'm going to write. I began to see how it could help me in my daily life. And so I started to use it heavily. But what was also on my mind at that time was I was never very technical. And, this was a thing that people would tell me. Of course, if you're an Agile coach or a Scrum Master, you get this like, oh, you're not that technical. How do you get this stuff? So it was never my passion to be very technical. I was an enabler for the human side of tech, although I was always very embedded in tech. So I felt like this was a personal challenge for me to learn to be a little bit more technical. And I also thought this technical knowledge could help me get a job. So I decided to take the leap and join a data science program at MIT. And I started building chatbots and selling them to my very first customers. Hold on. And hold on, my slides are a little bit wonky. While I was doing that, the world, of course, started changing, and I began to realize that I couldn't be hired for the job that I really wanted. So I decided to become an entrepreneur instead and not seek to be hired again right away, because that was going to be very challenging to be hired for the things that I really wanted to do. But over the past couple of years, inside jobs, AI skills are becoming now a job requirement. And in a Microsoft and LinkedIn study recently, it shows that over half of leaders now are requiring AI skills in jobs. Almost 3/4 of them are going to prefer to hire a less experienced person with AI skills than a more experienced person without AI skills. And for some of us in our mid to late career, this is like a shocker, right? We think we bring our experience. But just look at what the hiring managers are saying. And 2/3 of us are going to need upskilling by 2030 anyway. So the world is changing, and it's kind of like you're pushed to get on board here. So please, if you haven't been leveraging AI, now is your call to action. So I'm going to help you understand how you can be in this AI world without being too technical. Of course, I've categorized these emerging jobs in AI into a few different categories here. So at the top are the people who are actually building the AI models and doing all this data sciencey stuff, really involved at the forefront. Then there are people who are supporting those people, because you need a whole ream of people who are thinking about the strategy of AI in the business. How do we apply AI? How do we educate people to use AI? And how do we integrate these into our products and our services, for example? So that's a huge supporting structure there. Of course, you're going to have the governance and ethics part, and of course, research, advocacy, and public policy. But when I was putting this talk together, I thought there are just so many opportunities in here to be AI adjacent without being overly technical. And of course, I educate folks on AI. I automate things using AI, and I'm not overly technical. So there's a lot of things that you can do to be AI adjacent and be on board with AI without having to be a coder. In the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report for 2025, of course, you know that that data and analytics is going to be top of the list, because this is a very broad and goes across almost every single industry, anything having to do with data and analytics. And after going through the data science program at MIT, I say I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, but it's very helpful to understand how AI works and about this data and analytics part. So there's a book I'm going to share at the end that if you want to be AI adjacent and understand how to interact with data scientists, that you can leverage that book. It's called Becoming a Data Head. Another in-demand vertical is going to be cybersecurity. AI is facilitating more and more attacks, and also cybersecurity can be enhanced through AI. So that's going to experience a huge growth. I mentioned before that a lot of jobs were being added in financial services and anything fintech related, high growth in that area. So if you're looking to change careers or looking at industries that you can move into, these are things that are going to be high growth. Like healthcare is in huge demand now. We have an aging population. That's not going to change. We have a new focus on green technology because of climate change. And of course, AI is not very green in itself. So if that's an area of interest to you, those are things that you could kind of keep on the forefront of your mind. And of course, anything in education, higher education, there are lots of things happening in education. And because of AI, education can also be very personalized now. So these are the top in-demand verticals that look like they're going to be on everyone's mind through 2030 at least. So start thinking of these. There are also, as part of this report, which is hundreds of pages long by the World Economic Forum, that employers are actually seeking some skills. And so you can see here, tech literacy, AI and big data, and networks and cybersecurity, of course. However, there are a lot of things that employers value that have nothing to do with tech. So analytical thinking, resilience and flexibility. All this sounds like Agile stuff, right? Leadership, social influence, empathy, active listening. These are things that you can help people with. Service orientation. These are all things that Agilists have great skills in. And so knowing these things when you're putting together your resume and knowing that these are top valued skills, find ways to showcase these skills in your resume, in your job, and start working on these things to showcase to your current or future employer that you have these skills. AI will never replace your human skills, although it can do many things faster than humans, more accurate than humans. And after serving, tens and tens of clients, I'll say it can help you be more human. But what I believe that people should be doing is leverage their humanity and basically come together in person, leverage your empathy and things that AI cannot do for you, right? Human connections are going to become more important and more valuable than they have ever been before. So this is the time to lean into your humanity and get the most out of it, because even today, when I show up to this meetup, it's the connections that I have made through the years is why I get my speaking engagements, and the way you get jobs is through your relationship. So keep building those. But just pause for a moment and think about, especially if you're early on in your career, what are you going to be doing in 10 years? What do you think you're going to be doing? Whatever you're thinking, you're probably wrong, because studies show that a vast majority of people who are earlier in their career today are going to eventually work in jobs that don't even exist yet. Okay, so, I mean, my jobs didn't exist many years ago. So 60% of jobs that exist today have been created since 1940. Technical writer wasn't really a thing back then. Agile coach, not really a thing. Of course, AI, like not really a thing. So none of my careers had existed pre 1940. But a quarter of the jobs are going to be absolutely transformed in just a few years. And millions of us are going to be switching jobs and in new industries. And you can see the forefront of the industries that are going to be, rising, like cybersecurity, healthcare, fintech, and et cetera. So you may want to start looking at those industries. And astoundingly, of course, almost 40% of your skills will become outdated by 2030. So now is the time. And this actually, looking at this photo, this is a picture of a taxi cab in the early 1900s in New York City. Just resonate with this because there were tens of thousands of people who maintained the horses, the surrounding needs, like veterinarians to carriage repair people to horse feed and groomers and all those. And those were all gone within 10 years. Of course, we can't be the person riding or driving the horse carriage going like, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to change, I'm going to keep going. But we must be prepared and realize that change is coming, and one person continuing to drive the horse isn't going to stop the train. So it's the same with AI. Love it or hate it. I just think that we need to get on board. And whatever jobs that we can imagine now, it's just the start. AI is going to lead to new occupations that no one had ever thought of. We just don't know what those are yet. And that's kind of, scary for some people. So one of the things that we need to do is to prepare for constant uncertainty and reinvention, even more than what I described to you over my career. So I have a job, I have an AI agency, and I help people adopt AI, but I'm already planning for the next thing. I'm like a year into my new business, and I'm already thinking, what am I going to do next? Am I going to start this business? Am I going to start that business? Because it's no longer the day when you can learn one skill set, get one job, and stay in that career for 40 years. The average person today is going to have 12 to 15 or more jobs in their lifetime. And many of you are, like I said, going to work in careers that don't exist yet. So you're going to have to invest in lifelong learning. So if you have just gotten out of college and you're early in your career, it's not enough to say, well, I've got my degree and I'm just going to go and be complacent. Every day you're going to have to be learning something, or every week, or else you will get into what's called career debt, which means you're not going to be kept up to pace with the needs of today's employers, right? So whether you're an employer or employee or a freelancer, you're going to have to be upskilling yourself frequently and reinventing yourselves. So your greatest strength isn't going to be what you know now. It's going to be your ability to adapt and reinvent yourself when things change. The tech landscape has transformed completely in just a couple of years. Many industries that seem stable, like when we were working at AOL or MCI or 3Com, those names that don't exist anymore, like those companies don't exist in the same way, right? And new opportunities are constantly emerging that no one predicted. So find your own Phoenix moment. Periods of uncertainty and change can be when you discover what your greatest strengths and opportunities that are coming, right? And use it for fuel for your next reinvention. So your career is never going to be a straight line, sorry to say. It's going to be this series of reinventions, probably like mine. So if you start preparing now that you're going to have to do that, then you're going to have an advantage no matter what the future throws at you. So I'm going to help you with some of these skills. Somehow my mouse is not cooperating. Hold on. Let's see if it works like this. Okay, my screen is frozen. 1 second. There you go. It will be really important to focus on skills, like a basket of skills, over fixed roles. By 2027, it's projected that 86.5 million people are going to be freelancing by 2027. That doesn't mean that we won't have full-time jobs. People will have full-time jobs, and they'll also be doing some gig work. I've seen this over the past couple of years as I've gone out in the community and talked to people who have careers that don't pay as well as they do in tech. It's always like, I work at community college. Oh, and I do these macrame things, or I do this side art stuff. So a lot of people already have side gigs, and people want more flexibility now. So hence they're also moving towards this gig working thing. Younger workers want more choices. They want to work for themselves. But the bottom line is that we're going to have to be thinking of ourselves as a skills-based group than a fixed role, right? So you can expect now, if you're looking for a job, that you'll be having skills-based assessments. So I was applying for jobs when about maybe a year ago, just to see what was happening. And so there was like a generative AI consultant that they were hiring for. I had to go through a skills-based assessment. So these platforms are going to exist whether you're a gig worker or inside a company. Companies are already adopting these platforms because there will be more project-based work, and short-term kind of gigs inside companies, because change is going to be rampant. So they'll be able to assess your skills and then assign you to appropriate projects based on your skills. So you can see now, if you haven't updated your skills, you won't be picked for those projects. And then soon you might be on the bottom of the rung there. So just continual upskilling is going to be required for everyone. Oops. Looks like this was already answered, but how often are folks here leveraging generative AI in your daily life? You can even, type it in the chat or respond on the QR code. Often, sometimes, often. 25, multiple times a day. Love it. All day. Everyone, sometimes. Thank you. Cool, thank you. I love every group is very, very different. So if you are in tech and you have not started using AI, I will say, please start using it. 3/4 of our tasks are going to be significantly changed by AI, but that does not mean replaced. Already a bunch of new jobs are being generated, and there are all kinds of speculative articles out there and, fearful, but I want to point out that not all of them say that jobs are going to be lost. In fact, I came across some that indicate AI is going to improve our economy, and that to replace humans with AI in many cases will be cost prohibitive, even considering if AI is almost, zero cost. So just know that your job will evolve. So as one example, I have one of the things I could offer is a sales agent for AI. It can make 1,800 outbound calls per minute. It can qualify leads, and it can do all this stuff automatically. But you still need the human aspect, right? So someone is going to need to manage the AI, train the AI, understand, is the AI responding the way I want to these customers? I need the customer's going to be booking calls to close a deal and to buy my services. So some people have to be there. So it's going to take away a lot of the drudgery work that people didn't love doing anyway. But you have to be prepared for this shift. So maybe learning some automation platforms or understanding how your job personally might change if AI is embedded into your job is going to serve you in good stead. This picture kind of resonated with me because I was thinking of when AI, and I started to use AI, to me, it democratized knowledge. As I was chatting with ChatGPT and I set up a custom GPT to help me with my data science and my Python, and I called it my data science study buddy. And just it was like being connected to the hive mind, or having data at my side where I could just ask anything. So for me, it didn't feel threatening. It just was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I would have been as successful with my data science program had I not been able to ask it questions and describe linear algebra with a story or a visual or something else that would not have been possible before. And in fact, when I signed up for my data science program, the program manager who had to screen me to accept me into the program, she said, but Heidi, this is so different than anything you've ever done. Like, why this? Like, why did you choose this data science program? And so I told her, if not now, then when? And like, that had to stick with me in my mind every day as I was chatting with ChatGPT and running out of my credits, trying to, figure out these problems, because I knew that I had to do something to stay on the forefront here, and that what used to take hundreds of thousands of dollars, perhaps, like if you're thinking of attorneys and medical professionals, that all this was just embedded in this little chat bot. So for me, it was, it was very much trying to leverage the best of what I could get out of the AI at the moment, right? And a year ago, I would have said, oh, AI is your intern. But now I can say, do not use AI as an intern, use it as a teammate. So this is brand new research on a Procter & Gamble study. There's a guy named Ethan Mollick who's been very, very involved with this stuff. So I recommend following Ethan Mollick on LinkedIn. One person with AI matches the performance of a two-person team without AI. So this is why I say start leveraging AI. AI-enabled groups worked 12 to 16% faster and produced more detailed solutions. It helped them transcend their specializations. So it was like balanced solutions regardless of their background. Less experienced employees with AI performed similarly to teams with more experienced members. And not only that, but AI users reported higher positive emotions and lower negative emotions, probably because they were being helped out a lot. And so I think the organizational implications are going to be to rethink team structures and sizes and specialties and create new pathways as expertise becomes more and more democratized. So you can look this up by following Ethan Mollick on LinkedIn. So if you're telling me like, Heidi, how do I get started with AI myself? The first thing I'm going to say is, well, the number one predictor of an AI power user is how frequently you experiment with AI tools. So if you train yourself to have an AI first mindset, you're going to be creating your own future. I have my AI tools on my home screen. I've got Perplexity, Chat GPT, I've got Copilot, Gemini, and Claude right there. And I leverage that. If I have a question, I leverage it. Like one of my frying pans was sticking, and I was like, how do you, unstick a frying pan that's a nonstick? How do I unstick it? Like literally any single question. Just start experimenting with it. Ask it anything but a real problem. So a lot of people tell me, Heidi, what classes should I take on AI? And okay, you can take some of those, AI basics and stuff, but the really important thing is going to be how do you embed it in your own day-to-day, because everyone's experience with AI is going to be different. Your use case is different than my use case. And so for your work, say your work life, follow folks on LinkedIn and social media who are sharing how others are doing it, like AI in education or AI with product management. There are lots and lots of folks out there, so you can start following them and understanding how they're leveraging AI and then try to use that for your own use case. It's going to be super important to just have this AI first mindset, but I don't advocate just learning AI to learn AI. Just use it in your in your daily life as much as you can to solve real problems, because that's the way it's going to stick and it's going to resonate and you're going to come up with unique use cases for yourself. And AI is one thing, but say you're not that excited about AI, just know that the world has all these other advanced technologies that are going to have, be smeared with AI all over them too, like extended reality and new applications for blockchain. We have 3D printing at scale and advanced robotics and quantum computing, all those things. So all those are going to have AI embedded in it too. But suffice it to say that like the past 30 years in my career, the world has begun to run on advanced technologies. Nobody questions the internet now, right? Nobody questions that we're using these things. It's just like that, right? We're not going to question that AI is necessary. And what I'm going to say to you is, so pick your domain knowledge and advanced tech, say AI, and that's going to be your superpower. So for me, I was an Agile coach and I left technology, but my angle was always process improvement. I love value stream mapping, and I got involved with teaming very early on. And so from 2018, I was thinking about value streams and all this kind of stuff. So I'm implementing AI with a process improvement angle. It's the same if you're a product manager, take your product management domain expertise and then kind of figure out how can I use AI and how can AI help me in my job? And then you, with your personalized experience and the way that you choose to use AI, is going to be your superpower. And then nobody can replace that, right? You've got your own little niche that you can start thinking about, talking about, and experimenting with. So that's the way that I think about people learning to use and adopt AI in their real life scenario. And of course, every training that I do and every coaching that I do with a client is very, very different because it's based on their exact, needs. So all of this, beginning of this talk was to say, we're living in an exponentially uncertain era. It is not going to slow down. It's going to be extreme change. Even my career wasn't stable. And so the role I had leading agile transformations, very few organizations are now hiring for that role. So I can't go back to it. And so you have to disrupt yourself before you are disrupted. And that's been my message to myself. And of course, this disruption for me was a lot different than any of the other career evolutions I had before. I had to go from being an employee inside a tech company, doing agile transformation, to all of a sudden learning AI and then doing automations and a little bit of more technical stuff and leading solutions. Some of it was very similar to the work that I had been done, thinking from a process improvement perspective, but also I had to learn how to be an entrepreneur, and I had to learn to engage in my local community and sell to different kinds of people. So that for me was really disruptive. And so be prepared to disrupt yourself. And thriving in an AI world has very, very little to do with AI. But I'm going to share with you these skills that have stood me in good stead over the past 30 plus years. And it's all about really your humanity, right? So I had been leveraging these 5 skills in my own life that are essential for thriving. And I know these are going to resonate with you Agilists a lot. In the face of these tech advancements that we have, right? Adaptability, tech literacy, resilience, human connection, and diversification. Very few people are talking about these in this way. So I want to share like why these skills are really important and how I leverage them and why you can leverage them too. So adaptability. Well, everybody knows as an Agilist that you should adapt. But I woke up one day and I realized, okay, I'm starting my new business. Am I being proactive enough? Am I just waiting for this call that someone's gonna, find me and rescue me from some situation? And I realized, you know what, I have to be more proactive. So adaptability is not enough just sit back and say, I'm going to adapt to whatever comes my way. Like, I'm just kind of like floating in the ocean. No, you have to be proactive. You have to actively learn something. You have to actively experiment. Don't just sit back and wait. It's not a spectator sport. Experiment, like I was saying, experiment with AI. In my career, I always explored the edges, like what are the people on the forefront of my career thinking? Is it value stream mapping? Is it teaming science? Is it anything else? So what are those thought leaders saying on the edge of those? So now I'm following, those folks in AI education that are thinking like, what are those people doing? So start following those people, combine your skills that you know in new ways. So I was doing, process improvement, a very people-focused AI stuff. And that was something that very few people are focusing on this, from what I'm seeing. And then you're going to find your niche focus. Then you'll be able to share your niche focus. Okay. So at the end of every one, I'm going to have you do a little reflection. So thinking about adaptability, I'm going to ask you, are you being proactive enough about learning new things? And then are you prepared if your career were to suddenly decline? Right. So I'm going to share a worksheet at the end so you can drop me your email address on a Google Sheet and I'll send you like the 7 pages that I have of reflective questions if you're interested in knowing more. There's no cost and I won't spam you. So the second skill that has stood me in good stead over the past 30 plus years is tech literacy, because I can't say that the world is going to be driven by advanced tech. And this is an AI, thriving in an AI world, and that's not important. It is important, absolutely. But you don't have to be technical. If you want to learn about AI and how to speak with data scientists, get the book. It's called Becoming a Data Head. I highly been recommending that book for a couple of years. Set some goals for yourself. Don't just say, I want to learn AI or I want to take this course. Set some actual goals of how it can help you either in your daily life or your job. Start with a challenge or a problem that you want to solve for yourself, and then start experimenting with it in a really practical way. And that's the way it's going to stick. I use AI, daily, of course. I don't recommend that people take a program in data science because you don't have to do that to start experimenting with a generative AI. I was not prepared for some of the technical, the technical things, but that said, I did them, but you don't have to get deep into, into being a data scientist. that book is going to be very sufficient for most of you. So here's my reflective question to you is think about how you can integrate AI more into your daily life and work. And then are you using AI tactically or strategically? And by the second question, I mean, a lot of people are using AI to create, a social media post and saying, do this, and they're treating it like an intern. But at this point, you can really treat AI as a strategist, a coach, whatever you want. Instead of saying, create some social media posts for me, ask it to come up with a social media strategy. If you're trying to think of a new business, or maybe you have a hobby that you'd like to turn into a business, start asking it, act as a business strategist. Here's my side gig. I knit stuffed lions, and then ask it how you can turn that into a business. Whatever it is, you'll see the power of AI when you start using it strategically instead of just tactically. A lot of people get like way too tactical. The third skill, and I was really debating, I was trying to, reduce them from 5. It sounds like a lot, but is resilience. And I really had to keep this one in because with such change, people and humans especially, we crave some kind of certainty. And you're going to have very, very little certainty in your career these days. Well, unless you're really working on developing AI models, in which case you're going to be, pretty much set. But because there was such uncertainty, I had to learn to be emotionally resilient and manage my stress and be okay with not knowing what tomorrow looks like. Like even now, I don't know what tomorrow looks like, or the next week looks like, or the next week what kind of clients I'm going to get. Managing your stress, taking ownership of your health, eating healthy is really important. I read all the books and I learned how to meditate and think happy thoughts and all these things. And then the other thing that I realized that was causing me a lot of stress is when I was trying to control a situation that was just not controllable at all. I can't control that I was laid off, the tech market is down, but I can take some active steps. And so this is one thing that really stood me in good stead, because if you're not whole yourself, then you won't show up as the best person you can be, and then you won't be able to be proactive and just be resilient to change. So it's really important to have this emotional resilience. And so the question I have for you, a reflection, is how easy is it for you to remain calm in times of uncertainty and change? And then there's this human connection is really crucial. In times of chaos and uncertainty, what is going to help us and helps humans, because we are relational species, is your relationship and your network. Like I said earlier, the things and the talks and the jobs I get today are mostly around relationships that I have built up, or someone is like, oh, Heidi, you evolved into this AI stuff. I actually need this thing. Or I go out into the community and I have met someone. So those relationships will stand you in good stead. I led a meetup group. It was the first online Agile meetup group called Coaching Agile Journeys. I led that for 5 years, and there are still people who show up here tonight that showed up to my old meetup. Community is also essential for our mental health and our physical health. And so, especially here, when you're thinking about how do I adopt AI, and maybe you're struggling, just collaborate with other folks to solve problems. And we have to learn to communicate our ideas effectively in an AI world. AI can, of course, write reams and reams of whatever you want, any kind of documentation, research, social media posts. But when we're sitting in a room, we still have to communicate our ideas effectively. So this is going to help your human connection, and it will drastically improve your chance of getting a job. And so human connection is the other thing I think is super, super important. And so the reflection question I have for you is, I'm sure you know 2 people that you can connect that would benefit from this connection. So think about which 2 people you can connect today that would benefit, that they would benefit each other. Maybe they would just enjoy knowing each other. And the second thing is, maybe you can collaborate with someone on a side project. If you haven't started using AI, maybe you can get on a project together with somebody, right? And the last one is diversification. And to date, I haven't heard anyone else talk about how important it is in times of chaos and uncertainty to diversify your skills and interests. Many of you might be generalists like me. You have to maybe find some kind of like specialization, but really we can do so many things, right? Diversifying your skills and your interests but also thinking about multiple income sources as one possible area. So say if maybe I decide to have a rental property and I have my AI agency, or I have a full-time job and I have a side gig. Try some diversification, because you never know when you might be laid off or that one of the income sources will go away. So that's one way to make sure that you will remain calm, because you know that you always have something else coming in. Sudden changes are going to impact your potential income. And this picture that I have here is because if one fish species were to die out, like the ocean is pretty resilient, right? And the new fish species will take it, so the whole ecosystem doesn't collapse. And so that this image kind of resonated with me. So if you don't have multiple income sources, perhaps you diversify your investments. Maybe is it tangible and intangible investments, short-term, long-term, or some other way of diversifying those things so that you can be resilient in times of change. So start thinking about those things for yourself. And so this is the reflection I have for you. Do you have a business or side gig idea? And if you do, I encourage you to see what it would take to get that going, and then leverage AI to start asking it those questions so you can build up some kind of, resilience there. And then the second question I have for you is, how diversified are your income and investments? So those are the 5 skills that have stood me in good stead, and I am sure they're going to help you be thriving in an AI-powered world, to be proactive. Use AI as a coach and a strategist, not only as an intern. Be at peace with change. Right? Focus on your human connections and build your human connections, and then diversify. So which of these skills resonated with you the most? Just maybe type it in the chat here, or do the QR code thing if that resonates with you. Oh, Joel connected 2 people today. Adaptability. Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, seeing it go in real time. Verification. Cool. All right. I'm going to go on. These are times of great change for sure, but change brings not only challenge, but also opportunity, right? The future is going to belong to those who can adapt quickly, leverage technology wisely, connect authentically. So we created AI, and humans are going to continue to define how AI is used. So don't just survive the change of AI, use it as fuel for your next innovation idea or project. And so after implementing custom AI solutions for tens of clients over the past year, AI is just a reflection of our humanity, of us. It's going to bring out our humanity if you let it. So don't outsource your thinking or yourself to AI. Let it help you. I've trained many chatbots on intellectual property, from anybody from authors to attorneys. I have one client who's got 28 books, a chatbot trained on 28 books. I've got attorneys with all their intellectual property. And when people chat with the chatbot, it feels like they're chatting with that person. But really, it's just a reflection of the content that we have put in it itself, right? So it's fascinating, it's amazing, it makes information accessible. And also, it can be very generic if you just ask a generic question. So let it be a reflection of you. So I'm here to answer questions. If you want to get a read on how prepared you are for personal reinvention, I've got this 7-page document, so you can scan the QR code. It will take you to a Google form. You just enter your email and I will email it to you. And yeah, you connect with me on LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm excited to help folks adopt AI and reinvent themselves. And I hope my story resonated with you a little bit. And yeah, I'm here to answer questions.
Thank you, Heidi. That's really helpful. I do have a question.
Yeah.
If we're not going to do the data science path, do you have other courses that you recommend?
There is called AI for Everyone, and that is by Andrew Ng, NG, and that's on Coursera.
Okay.
So there's a few courses on like generative AI that I just recommend the basics, and it's really hard to recommend past the basics because everyone's need to know is very different. But yeah, the data science program is very technical, and I was doing like Python and data science algorithms and stuff. So I wouldn't recommend that. That one I'll just share because I think it's important for context, because people keep calling me up saying, I want to take this course. Would you recommend it? And the answer is, no, not unless you really wanted to become a data scientist or explore what that looked like. When I took that program, my goal was actually hoping to lead a data science program or AI or ML initiative inside an organization. And I thought that this would really help me. Of course, I took an entirely different direction. And then I discovered that book, Becoming a Data Head. So I'd just say, start with reading that book. If you think you want this program, start with reading that book and see if that's working well enough for you.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Anyone else? Stop sharing so I can see folks. Yeah, I don't know if there's any questions in the chat or anything, but yeah, feel free, you can reach out to me anytime. And if you have any questions, I'm here to support you. And yeah, hopefully you learned something from my journey.
Thank you.
Yeah, I could quick question. Can I jump in with a question?
Yeah,
sure.
Hey, thank you so much. That was awesome. That was awesome. I resemble that 30 years in the business, changing from COBOL to, whatever it is now, AI, I guess. But the thing is, do you feel that people are pushing back or concerns about intellectual property or sharing the information? Like, what I think about is like, where does this stuff go? Because it goes somewhere, right? It's being absorbed someplace. So the machine is taking it in. So I'm just wondering about. I don't have that much intellectual property to steal anyway, so I don't care. But I'm just wondering about that.
Yeah.
What are the ethics around that and the thoughts around that?
That's a great question. So I use tools to make sure that I'm not just uploading it to ChatGPT, right? So even in ChatGPT, you can turn off, they're going to train on your data. But for someone like the client I have was with 28 books, or the one I have with 100 podcasts and all this intellectual property, yeah, they're not uploading it to a public tool. We're trading. So I'll say my tool is like it leverages Anthropic's Claude or OpenAI's ChatGPT, because it's basically learned how to speak a language. But then you can think of it like it's a blob storage that their data is contained in, and it's only interfacing with the ability to speak, so it's not being uploaded there. So it's a secure private tool. So I would say, yeah, never upload anything private and secure or client data or your intellectual property like a book up to ChatGPT or Claude or anything, unless you've got the secure version. But so I'm very careful about the tools I use, and I read the terms and conditions, and then I turn off we can train on your data where possible. So I do agree that the best content and the best results we get, I have found from my clients, are the audios and the videos and the transcripts that we have from podcasts and like his 28 books. The more AI thrives on content. It's like the fuel for the AI, right? But at the same time, we're giving up a lot if we upload that stuff to tools. And a lot of people, of course, are very upset about their intellectual property being co-opted by AI.
Michael has his hand up. Michael, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I was curious how important it is to leverage the majority of the benefits that you're seeing from AI using the paid versions as opposed to the free versions.
The paid versions are so much better than the free versions. So you can get a little taste, but I definitely would leverage the paid versions, because you're going to think AI is not really that great if you're just leveraging the free version. Is really very advanced.
Great question.
Yeah, Heidi, I filled out the form that you had. So looking forward to the worksheet that you're going to send us. In that, it said that you're thinking in terms of a retreat. So, do you want to give a plug for your retreat and talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, thank you. So many people have, even before my latest, reinvention, people had contacted me saying, how do you continue to reinvent yourself? How do you keep adapting? And you always seem to be like on the forefront of whatever's happening. And how do you do that? And will you teach me how to do that? And so more and more people are reaching out. I thought, well, maybe I need this workshop or retreat. So I am working on it. It's not ready yet, and I don't have anything scheduled. But if there's enough interest, then I was thinking I could create an online workshop, or the versions were like online workshop or an in-person retreat to help people reinvent themselves. Maybe they want to start a business, or maybe they don't know why they're here on Earth, on their purpose, and I could help them with that. So I have plans for that, and that's hence it's like an interest form to just see how many people would say yes, and then I can develop and get feedback on early versions of it by reaching out to those folks, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
So Joel has his hand up.
Well, I had a
Let
follow-up,
go, Paul.
Ron.
Let go, Paul, finish his thought. Or his
I was having a follow-up on the retreat piece. So,
Yes.
so Heidi, I think, in my mind, right, I think a hands-on kind of thing where people can come in and do something hands-on and do some prep work before would be something valuable. At least that's my 2 cents. So it can be as simple as, hey, you're trying to interview or trying to make a pitch, right? So you already have something in your mind. How do you polish it? How do you make it impactful? Kind of a thing on one end. The other end can be like, hey, as you said, build a chatbot, custom chatbot for somebody who has already taken a course. Maybe they have some ideas and things like that. So it can be technical, it can be behavioral, it can be interactive. But overall, I think the retreat, if it is something interactive and hands-on, I think it will have more appetite for people. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it would be like a personal reinvention, like say that you need to reinvent yourself or your career, you're confused about where to go next. So it would really be very foundational and very interactive as far as what steps could I take next? Why am I here on Earth? What's my purpose? And and what can I do from here? Or maybe I'm trying to start a business and I'm curious about next steps. And so it'd all be around how do I leverage AI in this reinvention for myself and helping myself move forward. So it'd be very individual and personalized at the same time. Yeah, very interactive.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks. Question.
So first off, I wanted to pile on the free versus paid. I was actually getting really frustrated, and then I switched to a paid version of ChatGPT, and just the memory was amazing, and how I was able to feed a lot of stuff, and just like you said, the content, give it a content. I have transcripts from my classes, I have my articles, and all sorts of stuff I'm able to feed into it to really help it develop my voice. And I'm using it to redesign courses to be more interactive. My question was, I was actually having a chat with Snehal Talati on LinkedIn today, and I mean, I grew up in the hard science fiction era, 3 laws of robotics and everything, and I'm just curious, as we're doing this, what are your thoughts on what we can do to make sure that we are creating an ethical AI? I mean, somebody was a video about how they tried to teach ChatGPT how to read CAPTCHAs and it couldn't. So it went out to TaskRabbit and hired humans. And then when a human said, "Are you a robot?" it lied. And that terrifies me.
Yeah. So there are some things like AI is unlike a computer program where you know all the steps, right? AI is not always deterministic like that. And so I think some of it's going to be around explainable AI, having to explain the steps, or you can see the steps it is taking so that it can't lie. Because I think there's going to be some unintended consequences for sure. How do we make sure that it's an ethical AI? I think the important thing is that people like you are asking those questions. And so when you're reading the books and you're learning about AI, and say you're working inside a large organization who's building some AI tools, being able to know that you should be asking those questions. How did you clean and process the data? Like becoming a data head is going to be great for that, because it says, well, what did you do with the outliers? What did you do with missing values? Did you impute them? Did you remove them? And so understanding how the AI works and asking those questions is going to be crucial for an ethical AI, because we shouldn't be leaving it up to a few people who are building the solutions without being asked questions about that.
Michael, you've got your hand up. Again?
Yeah, I was curious. I think this is kind of related to the privacy aspect, but if you are interested in having AI leverage your personal data, is there currently a solution that allows you to do that, where basically the AI is running locally, so nothing that it's using is going up into the cloud? Is that a thing at this?
Yes, and some of them, well, I have a cloud solution that you could basically upload your intellectual property, but it doesn't go to like Anthropic or OpenAI, so it'd be a custom chatbot solution. So you could use that. I know Microsoft has some solutions like that too. So if you're leveraging Microsoft in that way, yeah, there's some local LLM solutions that you can download. I've downloaded them. They're just, some of them are hard technically. Like I couldn't get some of them to run. I had someone help me with that. So there's like anything LLM. There's Olama, of course, that you can download. So there are LM Studio. Like there are things that you can leverage locally, but they're also slow and not as good. So if you want the frontier models, then yeah, you're gonna have to. I would recommend that you actually stick with a like custom chatbot solution where you can upload your IP and then interface with the frontier models. Cool. And other questions?
No, thank you for putting in your tip.
Yeah, I feel people are, they're using ChatGPT heavily, but Claude is a much better writer. Claude to me is smarter. So I use Claude and I even play them off each other. So you can ask ChatGPT something, ask Claude something, and you can see the difference. If you're still using Google search, try using Perplexity instead. And I think you might see.
I like Claude a lot. I use Claude all day long, and I've used the others too, but.
Yeah. Cool. I appreciate everyone's engagement. Yeah, thank you.
Does the paid Claude have a deep memory like ChatGPT?
Does Claude? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it doesn't have it. You can have a project in Claude. It doesn't have the same like I'm going to remember everything. But you can create a project in Claude and upload it like a custom GPT that you would.
Okay. I went to ChatGPT just because it's that it could do both the writing and the graphics, and I could just go back and forth because I do it a lot for helping an assistant for writing my posts and such.
Yeah.
And I'll plus one on Perplexity. Today I used Perplexity to go and summarize some people on LinkedIn that I follow. And I then used that and fed it into ChatGPT to help me to craft a post about these people that I follow.
Oh, awesome.
And earlier this year, I used Perplexity to basically brief ChatGPT on the current geopolitical environment as I was looking to modify some of the language I was using in my workshops.
Very cool. I love hearing the real use cases.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
I was just wondering, is there the equivalent of a Metacritic or a Rotten Tomatoes for AI models at this point? Like, is there somebody, because they seem to be changing on a daily basis.
Yeah, there are people who basically talk about them. I don't have the name, but if you kind of Google, you'll probably come up with a comparison for LLMs, and it will tell you some of these things. Yeah, so there's a lot of them now that people are doing, but I would just say just Google it because I don't remember. There are people on LinkedIn that I follow that have these like little charts that they put up, and I just don't remember who was that posted it right now.
And the other question I had was when it came up when you posted the thing about leveraging, are you leveraging AI and thinking about going and specifically going to these various models and various tools that you mentioned. But I was also thinking that I think where AI seems to be making the biggest impact, or at least having the highest visibility for me, is being inserted into things that I already use, whether they be applications on the computer or websites that I go to and so forth. And I think maybe when it's most successful, you're not even necessarily aware that you're using AI, right? I mean, it might be an asterisk somewhere, but I'm just wondering, in that realm of AI benefits, is there anything that you would say that here's something that you probably already use in your daily life that maybe you're not getting the most out of because you're not leveraging the AI, magic that's been added to this tool? Maybe that's something that we could leverage more without specifically going to an LLM.
I think because of my business, that might be a little challenging for folks working inside of tech, but I will say maybe a couple things. So if you do lots of presentations, there are presentation tools that are much, much better than you trying to create the presentation on your own. So for example, if you create a lot of presentations, there's an app called Gamma that you can use. I mean, even PowerPoint has some AI enabled tools. So I would say whatever's your biggest pain point, there's probably a tool that it has AI already. So, for me, it's like coming up with a presentation most of the time, or a proposal. So if you write proposals, then I record my calls using Fireflies, and then I take the transcript from the call, and then I have it write a proposal based on the transcript. And so it's done. What would have taken me a half a day or a day, it literally takes me like 10 minutes now. So I'd say for anyone to just start with what is your biggest pain point that you're facing, whether it's replying to emails, creating proposals, creating presentations, or some business process, and then see what AI can do to help that. And then you can, of course, you can ask AI how you could do that. If you have a business process, there's an tool called make.com, and it's like Zapier, but it's a lot easier. So make.com can automate a series of steps. So for example, I could automate the idea of taking the transcript from my calls and writing a proposal based on it through this automation. Right now, I just download it. I don't need this for every single one. So I just do it manually. I manually download and I use it in Claude, but you could run an automation that does that automatically. I have an automation where if someone calls my phone or my client's phone, I have an AI assistant that answers, and the automation creates a summary of the phone call and sends it to my email. So I think the biggest, maybe it's not one tool, but it's basically having people think, what is their pain point, and then looking for some way to solve that using AI. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Have a lovely rest of your evening, and yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Of course, if you filled out the form and you want to receive the document, I'll send it to you. My Reinvention Readiness Index document, and yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, already connected on LinkedIn, Heidi. I don't know when we did, but we're already connected.
For a while now, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you all for coming, for joining, for enjoining Heidi in this. Heidi, thank you so much for an awesome presentation. I want to note that on May 1st, we have Jason Little coming back to talk about whether change management needs innovation. surprise, maybe. And then the next presentation after that is on best agile metrics. So that never comes up for any of us. So put it on your calendar. That one is on Thursday, July 24th. So May 1 and July 24th. Thanks, Heidi. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
I want to add, we'll upload this to YouTube in the next few days too. So if you
Thank you.
need to
Thank
share,
you.
thank you.
You all.